on my computer. Right. And then let's start. I think just we should start the live streaming on Facebook just so we could start sharing it in all different groups. So
right, yeah.
Let's see, it's all up and running. So we're going to share it first on our page, right? Page you manage, right here, next. And then we have one attendee, by the way. Do you see that also? I don't know what his name, but it's weird. I hope there's no Zoom booming here in webinars. I didn't have the chance.
I don't think there are because it's
very limited for the attendees, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So welcome, new attendee. We're happy you're here with us. Very excited. You're the first, so that's great. We're just about to stream it out to Facebook as well. It's taking a little time. You came early. That's great.
We love that.
Mm-hmm. Alexi, you can go on to our fan page. Tell me if you start to see anything.
You want me to check the Facebook?
Sorry, what's that? Yeah, you can check our Facebook page and tell me if you start to see anything there.
I don't see it yet.
No, it's not yet. It's asking me, maybe it's not giving me the preview, but let's see if I can, just a second. If I can just start go live without it. Go live. Reach more people by adding a title to your video list. So let's add a title. Oh, here. Okay. Right here. Launch event. And okay. Oops. All right, do you see it? Okay, now it should be working. Just give it, let's give it another few seconds.
Oh, I see. It says at the top of the Zoom.
It's what?
It says at the top of the Zoom that it's live on Facebook.
Right. It is. Okay, I think I see it here.
It says it's there, but it says this content isn't available because usually because the owner only shared it with a small group of people.
Oh, so let's just try it again.
Now it's working. It's working.
Oh, it's working? Okay. Okay, good. So let's just share it in the other few more groups. And we have another attendees joining us, which is great. So that's welcome, everyone. We're happy you're here. I don't see your names yet, but we'll probably see it soon. So let's see, you all came a bit early, which is, we love it. We are now just making the technicalities work. So let's just, Alexi, share the streaming, a few more groups so we could reach as many people as we can. I see Jose is here with us. So Jose, I'll just move you promote you as a panelist right away. And we can check the audio. Can you hear us, Jose? You are currently on mute. I'll ask you to unmute. Here we go. And then we could, oh yeah, now I think I can hear you, Jose.
Hello, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and it's a pleasure. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
All right. So I'm happy you came early. We have a few more minutes, or the panel will start a bit later during the event today, but I'm happy you're here with us and we can hear you and you can hear us.
Perfect, excellent. So thanks for inviting us. Just one little thing. I have been experiencing some challenges with my camera today.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea why, but once I turn my camera on, I stop listening people.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I would prefer just to keep my camera off in order to make sure that I don't have any issue when presenting.
Of course, no problem. Okay. No problem at all. Sure.
All right, perfect. That's all from my side. I'll just mute myself
for now.
And once the webinar starts, I will just unmute myself. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you very much. I'm very excited and happy having you here.
I'm so excited to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay. So I will. Meanwhile, we have we'll take a few more minutes, everyone. Again, and welcome everyone that is joining us here and also on Facebook. We are just making sure, waiting for a little bit more people to join. Oh, I see Anil is here, so of course I'll promote you as a panelist. Thank you so much for coming here, and let's just do the audio check first. Checking if you can really hear us and if we can hear you. I will ask to unmute. Okay. Anil, can you hear us?
Sorry about that. I had some problems connecting.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. You came early. That's great. As long as we can hear you and you can hear us, that's perfect. And Rachael, can you also hear us? Let's just, yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll ask her to unmute. Rachael.
Hi, this is Rachel. I hear
Rachel.
you
I'm always with the pronouncing. Sorry for that. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Do you hear us well?
I do, yes. Thank you so much for inviting me and holding this panel.
Of course.
I'm really excited about it. Thank you.
Of course, we are. Of course. Okay, so I'm happy we've done the audio check with all the panelists. I know we could hear you well. You're welcome to put yourself on mute or just unmute. That's fine. I don't hear any sound in the background, and that's fine. We'll take a few more minutes just to wait for a few more attendees, and we'll start with our event. And Alexi, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, that's great. Let me know if you're done with the different technicalities on sharing in the other groups we've discussed, and if that's fine, we'll kind of spend a few more. I usually inviting people in that type of events to kind of enjoy the virtual food we brought here. So I hope you like it. It's some Israeli virtual dishes, so I hope you all like that. So that's fine. Okay, I'll let you all know that the event is being recorded, and we will also share the recording afterwards. So those that are missing this, or if you'd like to share it afterwards with some colleagues or friends, they'll be able to hear everything that we're about to cover today. And also the event is being streaming on live on Facebook. So I'm sure I can actually see how many people are there also. I see a few more viewers over there as well. Yeah, well, Alexi, by your call, we will start. I'll just mute myself a little bit.
Sure, I will share my screen and wait one more minute and see if some more people come on, and we'll get started.
All right. Okay, so you're welcome to share, and I'll see. Yeah, we can see that. Okay.
It's good?
Yes, so what basically every slide that we're sharing, we will also describe, of course. So what is now on the screen is right here, Android 3.0.0 virtual launch event. And we are welcome to our incredible panelists and all of our attendees. So we won't forget to, of course, describe each and every slide on this event. We want to have a lot of them, but we're probably going to have a few. I think we're good to go, Alexi.
Yes, thank you. So hello, everyone. We are all so thrilled to have you here in honor of our Android version 3.0.0 launch. My name is Alexi. I am a business development analyst at RightHear, and it has truly been an incredible experience to work for this company, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you to present this event and this panel. I'm really excited about it. So just a very quick overview of what this event is going to look like. There we go. So on the screen right now, I just have an event overview. So first, we have an overview and introduction from Idan, our CEO, just introducing RightHear, what we do and who we are. Next, I'm going to play a quick urban accessibility video that I just think shows how revolutionary the RightHear solution is and kind of gives you a better understanding of what it actually is like. And then next, we have a RightHear user tutorial from Gil, our CTO, and he's just going to explain some of the new updates on the app and just the features and how it really works. And then next, the part that I'm most excited for, we have our guest speaker panel. So that is going to be very, very interesting, and I'm very excited for that. And then lastly, we have a very fun RightHear raffle. We have some surprise for you there, so make sure to stay until the end so you don't miss out on that.
All right.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce Idan, our CEO. So Idan, we'd love to hear some words from you
Sure.
just about RightHear and what it's all about.
Fantastic. So Alexi, thank you first so much for all the work you've been doing around this event in the past few weeks. It's very exciting for us to basically host the first online virtual launch event of RightHear. I'm honestly very excited, and I also want to apologize for some technicalities that we might have in the I know that some attendees couldn't attend to the webinar from technicalities reasons, but we are now sharing it also on Facebook, as I said. So I'm happy for everyone being here, and very thankful for this opportunity. For the new people who are here that don't know who we are at all, I would like to kind of take a few minutes to introduce us as a team and as a company, what we're basically doing and mostly why. And then as Alexi said, we're going to move it forward with the agenda, and I'd like to obviously let Gil talk a little bit, or more than that, about what we've been working really hard in the past few months with the Android version. So RightHear is a startup company. We based here in Israel, about 20 minutes from Tel Aviv. We started a journey about 4 years ago with one mission in mind, which is turning public spaces into more accessible environments for everyone, and mostly for people with orientation challenges, including the blind and visually impaired. We believe that every person should feel independent and empowered wherever you go in a very private way, freely way. And we're doing that, as I said, for almost 4 years. Most of our work has been done here in Israel. And these days we are extending it to more and more countries, and mostly to the US. We have a few projects in the US. We have a few projects in Europe and other locations in the world. What basically RightHear is doing is an audible wayfinding system that allow our users to hear audible descriptions about where they are, what is there, what's around them, and as I say, feeling and being more independent in public spaces. One of the metaphors that I always use when describing RightHear is like an audible ramp, if you will. Just like a ramp is the technology that allow a person in wheelchairs to access a building. RightHear is the technology that allow a person with orientation challenges to access that environment as well. We've been doing that for now in almost 1,000 locations. The way we do that is with a beacon technology. We're having a system that have basically three main components. One is the app. It's a 100% free app, and it will always be a free app. There's no even registration there. So they're also very privacy protected, I would call it. We respect that and we care a lot about that. Most of the development has been done through the iPhone or the iOS platform operating system, and today we're about to launch our newest version of Android, and Gil probably going to elaborate on that in a few more minutes. So along to our app, we also have the beacons. Beacons, for those of you not familiar with that technology, is small sensors that basically allows us to precisely locate our users in a built environment indoors. And thirdly, there is an online dashboard that allow our partners, the buildings that work with us, to control, edit, and manage all the audible descriptions later on that our users will be able to hear. The company has been growing pretty a lot, I would say pretty much in the past 2 years. And as part of it, it's the development of this Android version, as well as the expansion to more markets. And the vision in general, and I guess part of it is already happening today. The vision is, at the end of the day, being the orientation assistant for our users wherever they go. From the moment they wake up, if they want to go to school, university, their office, whatever it is, we want to be there helping them finding the right bus, finding the right cab, or just walking there independently if it's a short distance. And then again, of course, at the venue itself, whenever they're entering it, being there, allowing them to find their way, which we find is a very basic and important part of life, allowing them doing that independently, as I said, and privately. I think that's in general. I can obviously talk a lot about RightHear, but it's not the point in this meetup or in this launch event. We are in a very interesting time. You know, it's this COVID-19 is, found us all in unprecedented times. I mean, and we never had something like that in the past, and it's we're going to talk a lot about it in the panel soon. But one thing I would like to mention in that context is that the need for independent wayfinding in public space has been dramatically increased with the COVID-19. If only a year ago, or less than that, a few months ago, a person who wanted to have some assistance finding the counter in the restaurant or finding the office of the building or whatever it is, could just ask someone that could basically guide them all the way there. Now it's basically not an option with the social distancing reality, and therefore the need for finding this destination independently is stronger and important, more important than ever before. In Israel, I can share with you, most of our locations are here, and we are very proud to allow our community here being able to go to most of the dominant locations, whether if it's the universities, the hospitals, the shopping malls, of course, independently, and we would really like to see that happening also in other places all around the globe. So with that in mind, I would like to kind of bring the microphone back to you, Alexi. But just one more thing before that, I want to thank you, Alexi, so much for working so hard on this. I want to thank all the attendees that joining us today. Of course, the panelists, and I'm gonna back to thanking them again and again this evening. This noon here this evening. And I want to thank the RightHear team in general for all the hard work we've been doing in the past few months around this version, and specifically you, Gil. So back to you, Alexi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Idan, for that really great introduction. Definitely, I'm sure gave a lot of people a better understanding of RightHear and what we're all about, and definitely something that I believe in as well. So now what we want to show you guys is a video, one of my favorite RightHear videos actually. It's mainly about urban accessibility and just gives you a better understanding of how the RightHear technology actually works. So I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Right here. You are at the corner of King David and Ibn Gabirol Street, Tel Aviv. Heading northwest. Accuracy. Location 8 meters. Direction medium. 347 locations are nearby. Caution. There is a crosswalk in front of you. The bus station is approximately 10 meters in this direction. You are at the bus station. At this station, you'll find the following bus lines: 55, 56, 400. A bunk is nearby. Restaurants are nearby. Robin Square, Tel Aviv City Hall. To the flower shop, continue straight on this direction for approximately 120 meters. Caution, there is a bicycle trail on your right. A flower shop is nearby. The coffee shop is accessible with RightHear solution and is open every day from Monday to Thursday from 9 a.m. until 11 p.m.
So I just wanted to show all of you guys this video because I think it really displays how much reach the RightHear technology has. And I've had the pleasure of learning a lot more about the app myself, which Gil is going to talk about it in a little bit, but I've actually been working on some tutorial videos to better explain the features. So definitely you guys can listen to those to better understand the app, and Gil is now going to explain better these features, so I'm going to hand it over to him.
Wonderful, great. Hey guys, and thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm super excited about this event, the launch of our Android version 3.0.0. Actually, we've been waiting a while now for launching our Android app. Actually, we started by upgrading first our iPhone app until we reached the level that we knew there is too much gap and we need to close it for our Android users as well. And this is what I want to focus on in this next minutes when I can share with you about the recent updates and a little bit what we are aiming to in the upcoming roadmap. So stay tuned. So first of all, as Idan and Alexi mentioned earlier, we really wanted to make sure that RightHear is all about being independent. And this is our approach also while we build the product. And as some of you may know, RightHear was first designed for indoor spaces where we only supported accessibility of closed venues like universities or banks or malls, shopping centers. So we first aim into these sectors, and once we understood that in order to give our users the option for making a continuity journey between all those places that they need to go in order to be much more integrated into the community and social life, we understood we have to close this gap. And this is when I think about more than a year ago, we introduced outdoor mode for iOS, which was a major improvement for our users. This is like great news for all the users that were waiting to use RightHear, not only in those locations where RightHear systems is installed. As Idan mentioned before, those RightHear locations have our system installed inside. We use those tiny sensors, beacons, in order to make those places accessible. Now, most of our users that live abroad in the States don't have currently many places around them, so we feel like closing the gap is crucial for giving them the experience and what we so believe on for join this revolution that we aim to fulfilling. So the first thing actually that we introduced in version 3.0.0 in Android was actually allowing also the new outdoor mode alongside the indoor mode that was already available, of course. But now RightHear also, RightHear for Android also supports outdoor mode. It means that everyone, everywhere in the world can download RightHear. Again, this is a free app, so you can join. You can enjoy RightHear all over, and we really invite all the one of you that haven't tried it already or wasn't sure about if it's available in their area to go on and download RightHear and check it out. So the first thing that once you're gonna download RightHear, you are going to get your physical address, which will be represented in the current location button. And this button is available all the time to you in the main screen, so you can ask where you are also anytime, anywhere. The next thing that we introduced into the next version was actually not only knowing where am I actually, where is my position, but also what's around me. This information is crucial for getting the orientation that is so important to understand where we are in the space and what's around us. So we integrated into OpenStreetMap points of interest, and now you can actually get voice and notifications, or the one of you that are visually impaired can also see it on the screen, and also see all those points of interest around you. And you can even select your own points of interest if you want. There is a way to sort it so everyone can prioritize it and according to his own preferences. The next thing that was available on version 3.0.0 is the nearby locations. This way you can see all the locations around you, including those areas, those venues that include the writing system, that have the RightHear system installed around you. Those areas are the one that you can use indoor mode inside. So if you have one of the areas available near you, or you are visiting one of the countries or cities that RightHear system installed, we really invite you to try it out and check it out. The experience is something very unique and something that most of the people wasn't sure about first, like, what am I gonna feel in this? There is like a great sensation when you first hear the system telling you where you are located inside of the building, which is great. So actually, by making the introduction between the connection between the outdoor into the indoor, we make this continuity of user experience, which now available again in Android. So we're actually keep on closing the gaps, and our next improvements that we are going to bring into Android app is already in the next update, which is supposed to be available in the next upcoming days. And thanks to a major app of Alexi, we now have new tutorials already integrated inside of the app. It means that if you are not sure how to use any kind of the features inside of RightHear, all you have to do is go into the settings. You will go down below into the About and Help section, and you will see there a link to our YouTube channel when you can hear all the tutorials about the features. We are currently adding more tutorials, so keep tuned and we are welcome you all to subscribe to our RightHear channel when we keep adding more and more tutorials and other videos that will help you better understand the experience inside. Also, the video that we just saw earlier is also there. Few more things. We are going to also improve the next versions of Android by introducing public transportation information. As you know, iOS app already have public transportation available inside. It means that you can know where the nearby stations around you, which lines are passing by, and in which times. Now, I know it's not available in all the areas yet, but we are keeping adding more and more countries into the service. So we are welcoming you also if you live in a place and you want us to prioritize your area first, then you are more than welcome to ping us through our Facebook group, our community group, which is also available through the link in our app, and you are more than welcome to join us there. This is actually the place where you can leave us feedback, ask our questions, and get all the upcoming and recent updates of the app. Every new version that goes public goes there as well with all the changes, so it's easy to follow. So we really invite you, if you didn't already join our community group on Facebook, go into RightHear app, into the settings page, and press the link of joining the Facebook group. And we would definitely want to hear your feedback, so please share it with us and with other people of the community. Now it's super important as we keep on growing the community. It's very crucial for also the future development of the apps to prioritize, and for us in the development team to really understand and prioritize what needs to go next into our roadmap. So I think this is it for now, and keep on follow and stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Gil. Great explanation of the app and the update. And just want to echo what Gil said. Feel free to join our Facebook group, subscribe to our email. Definitely a great way to get more information about RightHear. And so now it is my pleasure to introduce our panelists. I'm very, very excited about this. So I'm sure you're wondering how is this going to work. We have 3 wonderful panelists with us today, and I'm going to be the moderator for the first 15 to 20-ish minutes, asking the panelists both general and more specific questions. And then after this, we're going to open the floor to questions from attendees. So as the panelists are speaking, feel free to type any questions that you may have in the chat, and then I will read those and present them to the panelists when it's time. So let's get started. It is my pleasure to welcome Rachael Trinkowsky, Technology Training and Vocational Coordinator at Lighthouse for the Blind of Palm Beaches. We also have José Viera with us today, the CEO of the World Blind Union and representative of the UN Stakeholder Group of Persons with Disabilities. And we also have, last but not least, of course, Anil Lewis, Executive Director of the Jernigan Institute at the National Federation of the Blind. So again, I'd really love to thank all of you for taking the time out of your days. I know everyone's super busy to be a part of this panel. Really grateful for it and very much looking forward to all that you have to say and being able to ask all the questions and the feedback that we've gotten on what people want to hear from you. So first, I'd just love to hear all of you introduce yourselves and provide a little background about who you are, what you do, and kind of just, I guess, your careers and things like that. So how about let's begin with Rachael.
Hi, everyone, again, and thanks for Idan and the team for inviting me and Jose and Anil to be part of this panel. So I work for the Lighthouse for the Blind of the Palm Beaches, which we cover 5-county territory in South Florida. Palm Beach is where our base is. And I also work for the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where I developed a program to prepare people for, it's an AT program to prepare people for the CADA certification through ACVREP. And I also teach a course in the ATP program, Assistive Technology program at University of Chicago, Illinois, which prepares people for general AT preparation. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel, for that introduction. Now, how about let's hear from Jose.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. First of all, thanks for the invitation. It's such a pleasure for me to be part of this distinguished panel, and even more in this unique event. So my name is José Viera. I am originally from Argentina, although I'm now based in Canada, in Toronto. And as Alexis mentioned, I'm the CEO of the World Blind Union. The World Blind Union is a global organization that represents the estimated 253 million persons with visual impairments around the world. We have national organizations who are our members in more than 180 countries. And I'm very pleased to know that one of our national members in the US, National Federation of the Blind, is also with us today. Basically, we try to promote the right of blind and partially sighted people around the world. And also in my capacity as the chairperson of the United Nations Stakeholder Group of Persons with Disabilities, we try to advocate in the context of the UN to ensure that the rights of people with disabilities are fully respected and promoted both in the private and public sector. So once again, it's a pleasure for me to be part of this webinar, and I hope to hear actually more from this great app and learn more how we can all partner to ensure that people with visual impairments, we live the life we choose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose, and I definitely agree with you. That is why I really have enjoyed being a part of this RightHear team, because I really believe in what they do, and hopefully it's something that can very much expand in the future. And so now we'd love to hear Anil, just a quick introduction from you as well.
Sure. My name is Anil Lewis. I'm the Executive Director of Blindness Initiatives for the National Federation of the Blind. I apologize for not having my video on, but it messes with the bandwidth and then the audio doesn't come through so clear. So I'm not hiding from all of you. I want to thank Idan and all for the invitation to participate in this. The National Federation of the Blind is very interested in helping partner in the development of all tools that allow blind people to obtain as much independence. We're a nationwide organization in the United States. We have local affiliates in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, all run by blind individuals because we're an organization of blind people. And our national center is located in Baltimore, Maryland, and that's where I work. And my responsibilities include what I call projects and programs around blindness from birth to earth. So we deal with educating parents of blind children, dealing with the education system for blind students, both K through 12 and post-secondary, helping create strategies for employment of blind individuals, evaluating and partnering in the development of access technology that blind people use to be competitive, doing research around blindness the right way so that we can have some research that really helps impact our lives. And as Jose was saying, kind of a paraphrase of our mission is just to create an opportunity for blind people to live the life we want. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Anil, for that great introduction. So we can get started with some questions. I guess my first very broad question for all of you is just, of course, we are now living in a very different world than we were a year ago today, and just kind of wanted to touch upon that. How has COVID-19 and this new climate personally affected you as a part of the blind community or associated with the blind community, as well as how you're able to work your jobs and in your careers? And whoever wants to start can go ahead.
I'll start. Next time you may want to pitch it, we're all being very polite. And I'd say, first of all, personally, I'm very much an introvert, contrary to most people's belief. So I would prefer to kind of telework and all those types of things if given the choice, but COVID was not a choice. It was kind of forced. on us all. So that whole experience of teleworking really wasn't as comfortable as I would have wanted it to be. I think overall, related to me as a person that's blind, I was really offended in the beginning when many people were saying, well, you know, surely blind people or people with disabilities are dealing with this much better because this is what you're used to. And I think that's kind of insulting because they made it seem like a life of isolation was a choice rather than the result of the discrimination that we face every day. So it's a true testament to our resilience, I agree, but it's definitely not the environment that we want to live. But the overall thing related to COVID is I do believe in trying to make lemonade out of lemons, that we are learning how to do things in different ways that are going to create opportunities that did not exist otherwise. And hopefully coming out of this, we'll have technologies that we didn't have before that allow us to be more independent. We'll have a different attitude around our self-worth and value coming out of this that we didn't coming in. So I remain optimistic that we will hopefully benefit from this more than we had anticipated from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anil, on that. I think for me, our agency at the Lighthouse for the Blind of the Palm Beaches, we have been teaching remotely for participants where it's beneficial for many years. So teaching remotely for us is not new. My dissertation topic was accessibility and online learning. So online learning, you know, we have to remember that these technologies are not new. I think the pandemic has just forced people to rush and flip face-to-face courses and training and services into virtual services quite rapidly. There hasn't been there wasn't really much time for preparation, and unfortunately that hurried switch to online learning really didn't allow for the training necessary and the supports to be put in place, you know, globally for the educators and trainers and people with vision loss to learn how to use these tools properly. I think, you know, there's so many advantages for online learning. It's not the best fit for everyone. I am hoping that what does come out of this is that people will see where those advantages lie and continue using the online remote distance education and do it well. And, you know, you have to remember that face-to-face classes or training or services are very different than virtual and distance services. And it's important to look at the agencies who've been providing remote training and online learning for years and doing it with best practices for universal design and accessibility and just general modality for online learning. You can't take this same content in a face-to-face class and just put it online and assume it's going to work the same. It's different, right? It's a different environment. So that has to be taken into account.
I can go next. So I would definitely agree with what has been said. However, I would like to add onto this conversation a perspective, perhaps a little bit more from some of the personal stories that we have received in the World Blind Union. And I would like just to highlight at least 3 main points. One is that COVID-19 has shown us how important the technology is, but the question is how many people are accessing to technology around the world, and how expensive for some people technology is. I was participating earlier today in a webinar where a person from India was saying that they had to sell almost all what they had in order to get a smartphone for their child to continue getting online education. So that shows us something that is important always to keep in mind. My second point is nowadays we speak a lot about the importance of technology and how relevant it is to our daily life. And the question is who and how we train people, blind people, in using those technologies. So that becomes how critical it is to have both private sector companies and public entities like national training agencies working in partnership to ensure that the technology gets to the right people and people with vision impairments get trained in those technology. And my last point that I would like to make here is the cost of accessing to technology. It is critical to think of how feasible is to access to technology from a financial point of view, and how critical is to think of creating alternatives that can help living independently, but at the same time that those technologies are affordable for most of the people of our community. In the presentation that was made just now, I was actually very, very impressed by the fact that you are not only considering this product for one specific platform, the iOS platform, but also Android, which is much more popular in other countries, especially in less developed countries. I'll stop here, thanks.
Thank you so much for that, Jose. And I'd just like to go off of that and say that is one of the values of RightHear, is that we believe that inclusion starts with accessibility, and that we don't believe that our users should be paying for a technology that they should have access to anyway. And also kind of just going off of what all three of you said, of course, technology plays a very important role in everyone's lives, and especially those within the blind community. And we're in a very interesting climate right now. So I just wanted to hear from each of you. Do you feel that this climate will propel the importance of this technology? And how do you see assistive technology changing as we go forward into the future?
You know, I think if we look at two models, and I agree with what Jose said, there's, you know, the equality of who has access to technology throughout the world, and, you know, here, even in the United States, different parts of the country, it's not equitable. So that is a major issue for not just people with vision loss, but I think everyone. But having access to technology in general and internet access is really critical. I don't know how to solve that issue, but it's definitely something that needs to be considered. When you're looking at the major operating systems and platforms, what we've been seeing with Microsoft and Apple and Google is really just the integration of the AT being built in to a point where it's not quite there, I don't think, but it's definitely getting to a place where the built-in screen readers, the built-in screen magnification, and those built-in accessibility features across the board are they're just getting better and better. And I do think over time, at some point, we may not need those third-party applications as much. So I'm really appreciating the growth that we're seeing with these major manufacturers of the operating systems building the applications right into their platforms.
I want to add on that. Sorry, do you want to go?
No, go right ahead.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I mean, I fully agree with what Rachael just said. I mean, we of course we recognize that there's still a lot to be done in terms of ensuring that people can access to technology and that technology becomes affordable. But at the same time, I think there is a clear understanding of something that perhaps within the blind community it was it was already sort of agreed, but perhaps when interacting with other partners was not too clear. And that is, you know, we always like to talk about employment, education, all different type of, you know, let's put them human rights, but people with disabilities should enjoy. But the question is, besides discussing inclusive education, besides promoting inclusive employment, who is taking the leading role in ensuring that a person with visual impairment can get to work, can get to school, can do grocery, can independently go and shopping and meet friends in a coffee shop. And I think COVID-19 has shown us that more technology is needed and more investments are needed to make what I like to call the right to city more accessible. And that's where this type of technology, the ones that you were presenting, become a critical component of all this. And something else that I would like to add is it's important to know that more and more we are now seeing companies developing technological solutions considering blind people in different aspects. I always like to use the following example. Nowadays, it's very popular, all these online platforms where we can meet and hold webinars and have virtual meetings. And in the past, it was, very common to see that a blind person had a lot of difficulties if they want to be the facilitator of the webinar, or if they want to be the host of the webinar. And there had been a lot of improvements in those platforms, allowing now blind people to be the host of the webinar, to be the facilitator, and not just to be the participant. And that shows the shift, how companies are perceiving blind and partially sighted people as a potential market for these type of technologies.
Yeah, I think to answer your question, I'd like to build on what Rachael said in her first response around the use of technology in providing remote education. And I think that this is how COVID, I think, has really given us an opportunity to really increase the ability to capitalize on accessible technology. So in the education space, the National Federation of the Blind realized that the education system here was woefully inadequate with respect to providing remote education to blind students. But with that, we've been able to really re-emphasize and double down on our advocacy around making sure that these particular products are accessible. So that we're seizing as an opportunity in the employment space, because many employers are now having to redefine the way that their employees do work so that they can work remotely. It's creating opportunities that we can kind of adjust those jobs by introducing access technology so that those jobs that people thought blind people couldn't do, now they can do, because the jobs themselves are being more digitally dependent as opposed to something physical on paper or something that you would actually need vision to do. So that's created opportunities there. I would have to be a contrarian around the statement later made around, I agree that Microsoft, Google, Apple are doing a really good job of making their apps and tools accessible. But I think that there'll always be room for a third party. And I know you're saying there wouldn't be, probably lesser dependence, and I agree with that. But I think that the need for that third party app is it gives the blind individual the power of the consumer, right? So if a person is only able to use Narrator, then they're limited to Microsoft products. But if a person's able to use, JAWS, then they can use that to access whichever product, and then they can use their dollar or their preference to continue to force competition between all of the different technology manufacturers so that they can always remain accountable and no one will be held hostage. But I think that overall, the part that I'd like to focus on related to COVID's impact on the technology is more of what Jose was saying. I think that we have become more reliant on technology faster than we would have. But the overall goal that the National Federation of the Blind is trying to seek is, rather than trying to make sure that everybody's trying to focus on making sure that blind people can use it, then it's basically the same thing. But our thing is enculturating accessibility. Many of you may be aware of the Teach Access movement, but we recognize that if we teach all the individuals who are going to be developing these apps and coding these web pages and creating this new technology, that doing it accessibly is just a matter of doing it accessibly, that is not an additional hurdle or burden, then we'll have more and more proliferation of apps that are ready to use out of the box, web pages that are accessible from their development, technologies that are developed that a blind person can use just as easily or readily as someone that's sighted. So I think that we want to continue to build on this new intense reliance on tech to really reinforce within the school systems that are teaching these IT professionals and the R&D shops that are working on that next evolution of technology, that they need to train their individuals how to code accessibly. It's not a burden. It's just the nature of doing business.
Yeah, just to continue what you said there, Anil, with accessibility. Often, I hear people respond to accessibility of, oh, it's only, I'm only doing it for this population, or I'm only doing it for this reason. And there's this mythology around accessibility, one that it's so complicated, which, yes, you do have to have a certain skill set to understand how to make web pages and digital content accessible. But when you're talking about accessibility and making web pages or digital content accessible, you're talking about just overall good usability, which is best practice for everyone, and is only going to make the website and the digital content better for everyone. So, and there's so much training. There's really no excuse. There's so many training and resources out there on accessibility, especially in online learning environments, but just overall accessibility and digital content that, there's plenty of information, even for free, for people to have access to. And I want to just clarify, I wasn't in any way saying the third-party applications don't have a place, because they absolutely do. And there's some things that the third-party applications can do so much better and so much more functional. What I was referring to is just the equity of having the option of the built-in accessibility, that they are getting better and better.
Agreed. And to your point, people will be less reliant on it. So I respect that as well.
Alexia, you're mute, but I guess I remember you have another question for the panel. If not, I can try, but you're on mute, Alexia. All
there
right.
we go. Having some technical difficulties there. Thank you, though. So yeah, all three of you touched on a lot of really important things. I think in talking about how, although this has been a very quick transition in trying to get everything online, it really has shown the inadequacies in this technology and the things that need to be changed, and kind of an increased advocacy around it. So do you think that this climate will kind of push these type of technologies and online accessibility in terms of every app should be accessible, and every location should be accessible, with what RightHear believes in? Do you feel that this is something that is going to be mandatory in terms of law in the near future at all? Or do you think we're too far off from that point?
I don't know whether we're at a point where it's going to be law, but I do think, well, I know we're at a place where we're trying to develop the necessary standards, so that we can kind of build on the economies of scale of all the different developers that are working in this space. I have to applaud RightHear for being a very early adopter and recognizing the need for developing this type of technology. And I also really like the forward thinking of, you combining the indoor navigation and the outdoor navigation so that it's seamless. So, in the past, you have to have one app that you use for outdoor nav, and then if there was an ability to do some indoor navigation, then you'd have to switch to another app. So you're being forward thinking and setting a trend there. But you can also recognize the benefit of, in the beginning, when the beacon technologies were new, kind of being used for wayfinding, every app used their individual types of beacons. But by developing some standards, then we can create an infrastructure that all of these apps can kind of piggyback on, and using more of the built-in infrastructure will allow, not only the app developers to reach some economies of scale, but also the hosts, the locations, to find a more feasible way of introducing the technology into their spaces. So I think that the answer to the question overall is, being a member of the National Federation of the Blind, recognizing that the ultimate responsibility is up to us. And if we don't seize this opportunity, if blind people don't seize this opportunity to really, reinforce the importance of accessibility in a way that makes the business case that Rachael, articulated, it's not just building something for blind people, it's creating a multimodal experience or interface that's going to benefit everybody. but it's up to us to continue to convey that message. And we have to be very careful of how we convey that message, because the more we make it sound like we're gonna have to go over a hurdle or go around a barrier to meet our needs, the less likely we're gonna be able to get wholesale adoption of this. But if when we make the business case, we get them to recognize that accessible coding is just good coding. The end result is gonna be a beneficial product or service that's gonna enhance your ability to sell your product to more and more customers. And that's the type of messaging that we need to be introducing at this time.
I fully agree with what has been said already, but I just want to emphasize one thing that from the World Blind Union we deeply believe is definitely the next step. Definitely, we don't know if this type of things of accessibility will be mandatory, even though it's in many countries already mandatory, but it's not a reality. But what we deeply believe in is that we definitely need to invest more resources and more of our time in creating those standards. I think COVID-19 has somehow reminded us of the need of agreeing on what we think are the minimum standards when we talk about accessibility. And nowadays, that accessibility as a concept has slightly changed within COVID-19 time. Organizations of the blind, like the one I represent, has I would say a new mandate, and that mandate is basically to ensure or to promote partnership between governments, private sectors, and organizations of the blind to further develop standards, adapt the existing ones into the new reality, and as has been already said, to ensure that we are the ultimate responsible for promoting those standards and to make those standards to become mandatories for governments and private companies.
Rachel?
Yeah, I would, I would hope that more organizations and developers, whether it's app developers, web developers, anyone creating any digital or physical devices, would take more of a model and a stance like RightHear and other agencies that just build accessibility right into their products and web pages. Unfortunately, we know that the reality is there's still many apps, many websites, many products that are not accessible. My hope is that with advocacy and informing, what I teach my students, whether it's the people that I'm teaching AT directly to, or my students who are AT instructors, advocate. If you come across a website, if you come across an app that is not accessible, reach out directly to that developer and let them know. If you're not an expert, or if you can't give specific, let them know what didn't work for you. If you have the knowledge and if you have the resources, point them in the right direction so they know where to start to make those apps, software, hardware more accessible in the future, and to build that and to keep working at it. One other thing that I do want to point out, I realize that there's many issues that need to be solved as far as access to technology and access to internet service. But with remote training, one thing that we have the capability of, if there's an instructor or an educator that needs to reach out to someone and they're in a rural area or an area where there is not an agency, remote and distance learning makes it possible. Now, albeit we do have to have the technology in place and that internet service, but with that being in place, there's really no limits and no boundaries to what services we could provide to, and where we can provide those services.
I'd like to add on that, with as part of the opportunity with you know, the COVID-19 brought us with online meetings just like this one. I believe that, just as you said, Rachel, people's advocacy around such issues become even a bit, I think, become a bit easier now, because the gathering become easier, and therefore, you know, sharing messages and advocating for certain causes might be easier than it was before. I mean, I'm so surprised. We've been running so many online meetups with our Israeli community in the past few weeks, and I'm so surprised each time, like, being able to talk with so many people online. It's not like we haven't tried it in the past. We did, but it was less engaging as it is now, because now it's become the new norm. So so that's also an interesting thing I thought to share. Jose, do you wanted to add something to that as well?
No, just a little comment that actually I forgot to mention before. Besides these development around standards and how to ensure that accessibility should be something that has to be more natural for app developers and web page design companies. I think we also have the responsibility as blind organizations to continue introducing in this type of conversation the concept of that 253 million people is a very good market. Mm-hmm. From a business model point of view. We have been actively engaged in the discussions around self-driving vehicles. And one of the reasons why we were involved, besides other reasons like safety for our community and so on and so forth, is basically because we think that the community we belong to, it's a quite interesting market for many companies, and I think that's something that also has to be further developed and promoted.
Yeah, I agree, and maybe I will add one more point for that part. You know, while you know, here in Israel, it is like things like what we're doing at RightHear is already obligated by law. Having audible wayfinding system is already a law here. We saw it happening in our beginning, that one of the reasons that many of our partners are doing that, not just because of the law, is because the tend to think that if they won't have it, they will be, if they're not having that, they will feel blame not being accessible at their competitors. So I'm saying that just in the context of having the business case, which is a challenge. Having the business case for accessibility, I think, has always been a challenge, but it can be solved from top down, talking about regulations, but it can also be solved bottom up. Bottom up is when, and talking about standards, and of course we've been talking about standards with which is super important, by the way. I think it's a very important issue, and Anil, it's great you bring it up. But the standards that I'm talking about, not just from the technological perspective, but also as a market standard. So if you don't have that, as though and your competitors do, it's gonna put you in a bad light, and it's also a reality that we can advocate for. So.
Right, and I would say, I wasn't saying that it would not be, because I think that there is a case to make, even in current law, that the more the technology evolves, that it will be considered a reasonable accommodation, which is already required by law. So I think that in some way it may already be on the path toward being mandated legally. So I wouldn't dismiss that. And the other thing I wanted to add, I think, you know, there's pros and cons. And I agree with Rachel with the remote stuff. It's allowed us to access people, otherwise we wouldn't. We just recently hosted our national convention virtually. We normally have 3,000 people in person. We had 10,000 people participating virtually. But in doing that, there are some trade-offs, right? You do reach more people and get them exposed to the education that you want them exposed to. But then without that physical interaction, you miss some of the informal learning that takes place. And that's in line with the whole RightHear experience. When you're there on site at a convention site, a lot of people think of it as an inconvenience. Well, we have to walk through these crowds. Well, that's part of the learning. That's part of experiential and structured discovery and becoming a better traveler. And utilizing the RightHear app, you know, helps facilitate a lot of that. But I think that a lot of people miss the fact that that's a skill that you have to continue to use in order for it to remain, razor sharp. So there are trade-offs, but I am optimistic that because we did reach so many people through that virtual experience, I was afraid that it was going to get people discouraged from coming in person, but I think it's really going to encourage more and more people to actually want to be in that space. So I'm interested in seeing what happens when we're able to go back to a more traditional experience that we are definitely going to complement with those virtual components, because again, we're learning things that are going to make us better than we were before we came into this.
Absolutely.
I would love to see more blended, and by blended, I mean combinations of face-to-face and remote, and just combining and really taking from this, if we could take something positive from this, is where the digital and remote technologies are beneficial and continue using it for those purposes, and where face-to-face makes more sense than have face-to-face. And you could combine the technologies. We have traditionally, we have a computer club that we run and a book club that we run through our Lighthouse. And we, for years, have had a digital component. Well, now we're completely online. And I do miss that face-to-face, because it is different when you could, be in the same room with everyone. But we'll get there again sometime. But for now, we're meeting fully online. But to have that kind of blended environment, and I think there will be a lot of good uses to continue using those technologies, even when we are able to be with each other, in large conferences again.
Agreed.
Absolutely. All right, Alexi, I think you can move on with your agenda.
Yeah, well, I wish that we had all the time in the world to continue speaking with you guys, because seriously, it's been really great to hear from you. And I know that if there was no time limit and we all had the time, I would definitely love to continue speaking with all of you. And again, I'd really just like to thank you for your time. I know that it's been really great for me to hear from you, and I'm sure our attendees feel exactly the same way. So, virtual round of applause for all of you.
Thank you so much, Anil, Jose, and Rachel. I deeply appreciate that. I do not take it for granted, and I think it's super important that you came here today. And I'm sure everyone that has been listening to this panel can agree with that. So, so thank you so much.
My pleasure. Take care, all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate you guys. And now we have our one last thing to add to this event. Definitely will be a great rounding off point, and we have a very unique surprise for you guys today. So,
all right, the fun part, Alexi. All right, okay, we have the raffle. What is the prize? What's going on? What's going on?
So, what we have here is everyone who signed up for this event, all of our attendees, your names were put in a big pool, and we actually made a really cool song with all the names. And how it's going to work is Idan has the power here, and he's just going to say stop at a certain point, and whoever name the song stops on, that is the lucky winner, and the lucky winner is receiving a RightHear swag box.
Okay, so, just before that, I want to ask Rachel, because she's still here. Isn't it the coolest accessible raffle you've seen? Or do you have better ideas?
Well, I have to hear the song first, but so far it sounds pretty interesting.
All right.
A lot of pressure on the song here. But.
All right. And just one was.
Is it you singing it, Don?
No. I didn't want to scare everyone. No. But I do want to mention that it's just the names are just though to register. So we have many here also on the Facebook that's watching us. So it's not there. Sorry, but next time just make sure you register. All right, click the play, Alexi.
Tamar, Matan, Amare, Tara, John, Daniel, Robin.
Stop. Who's that?
Robin.
Okay, I hope he's here. Let's see if. Do that again. Do that part again.
Oh no. There we go.
Robin. Okay.
Robin. Yeah. So I'm already jealous that Robin gets the RightHear swag box. But Robin, we will email you, get your information, and send that over to you. And so again, would just love to thank everyone for attending today. It was definitely really fun for me to plan. and I'm just so happy that it went so well, and really appreciate the discussions that we had. Definitely leaves me with things to think about for the future, so I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and again, thank you, Alexi, and for the rest of the team, of course, that have been working on this in the past few weeks. I do want to remind all attendees here to join our Facebook group. If you have any issue, I've seen one person that contact us, Marco, so we're gonna contact you with that and solve the issues that you might have there. But anyone are welcome, everyone here is welcome to our Facebook group to share with us your feedback. Any feedback is very welcome. Your ideas, your thoughts. We are really, really waiting for that. So, of course, thanks to the panelists again, José Viera, the CEO of the World Blind Union, Rachael Sessler from Trinkowsky, from the Lighthouse, Palm Beaches, Florida, and of course, Anil Lewis from the NFB. I'm highly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed it.
Great.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, and congratulations with the launch.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Thanks.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. We're going to see you next time on our next, I guess, online or virtual lunch event. We might be having something before that. But by that time, stay safe, stay healthy. And Alexi, thanks again for everything. It's been amazing.
Well, echo exactly what Idan said. Stay safe and have a nice rest of the day.
All right.